Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacy and Phil Thompson.
To another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson.
And I am Steve Lacy.
And we won't tell you what we've been doing the last 2 hours trying to make our podcast work. But we're so technically
gifted, huh?
Gifted that
we finally
figured it
got
out.
Figured it out, yeah.
It took us 2 hours, but we figured it out. Well, not exactly. We had other stuff going. My name is Phil. Oh, we already said who we were, didn't we?
We did.
I'm confused here. So we're a company called JSL Solutions. We bring you StreamingChurch.tv, which is streaming video. We bring you mobile apps under the label of ChurchAppLive.com. And we also have MyFlock.com, which is church management systems, website templates, and all that good stuff. So enough of that stuff. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today. And Steve, what are we going to talk about today?
So today, you've got some really juicy stuff. We're going to talk about 10 church technology stats that will surprise you.
So we want to bring this up today because I think it's good for all of us to look at some of these stats and just kind of see where we're at as churches. Mm-hmm. So, if you're listening to this podcast, you are probably, a pastor or an associate pastor or a volunteer that's very key, and you're, helping your church out with, streaming or whatever it is you're doing. And so it'd be good to look at these stats just to kind of get an idea of, here's what supposedly everybody's doing out there.
Mm-hmm. And they're all very surprising.
They're surprising
for me, they
stats.
were. Yes.
So let's just go ahead and jump into it. Steve, let's take us to the first stat.
So number one, it's 46% of church leaders discourage the use of technology at their church.
Wow, 48%. Or 46%. So almost, but I can't read my glasses, but that's almost half of the church leaders discourage the use of technology in their church. So in other words, the other stat that goes along with that is 35% believe that it's becoming too much about technology. This is from Tyndale University.
Yeah. Wow. I would think that those might have been switched around, but because, the fact that church leaders are discouraging the use of technology at their church. So why do you think that is?
Well, according, again, the stat that's kind of right next to it is, 35% believe it's too much about technology. I think there's probably this idea out there that maybe people are, they feel like it's taken away from the personal connection, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
That's a good question to ask everybody out there. Maybe send us your feedback on this. Why do you think that 46% of church leaders are discouraging the use of technology at their church?
Yeah, it could be a distraction from their main mission. I'm just trying to read behind the. It surprises me because I haven't met 46% of church leaders that are discouraging.
But again, that stat that's right next to it, 35% believe that it's becoming too much about technology.
Yeah. So the difference there, the 11% of those that just are technically just don't want to deal with it, and don't want people at their church to deal with it.
I think, again, this would be good feedback for our listeners. Send us an email, support@StreamingChurch.tv. We'd love to hear what you think about this. I think that there's maybe an underlying current with some of the people in pastoral ministries saying, it's about relationships, it's about one-on-one, it's about face-to-face.
Yeah, and I think as we go through these, I know these were surprising to me, so we're probably not going to have real good answers for why they are.
I don't know.
Because they're like, otherwise they wouldn't be so surprising. But that's amazing, 46%.
Well, the good news is 54% are encouraging it, or at least,
are encouraging the use of technology.
Well, I don't know if they're encouraging, but at least they're not discouraging people.
Right.
Interesting stat. All right, let's move on.
So number 2, and this has to do with the social network arena.
Right. And
it says 77% of churches are using Twitter.
So I'm a little surprised that many churches are, but here's the other side note to this. Twitter was the second most used platform, and they're coming under Facebook is number one, and they say 98%, almost 99% of churches are using Facebook. Those that are using social media. Okay,
right.
I think we need to define that. And they're using Facebook above blogs, Instagram, Pinterest, and Google+. So of churches using social media platforms, 77%.
Is that the qualification for this? I read that as 77% are using, or the 98% of churches were using.
I don't think that's true. Well, 98% who are on social media platforms.
I would say 98% are using. I don't know. It depends how you read this, right?
There's a lot of churches out there that are not. Well, the source is ROAR, ROAR. But I guess the way I read that stat is I don't think all the churches out there are using Facebook. I mean, I know a lot of churches that aren't. I don't think
you know the 1%ers then, right? Because it says 99%.
I read this as that if you are using social media, so if your church is using social media.
I wouldn't qualify it that way.
All right.
Because it does just state 77% of churches are using Twitter.
Well, we've got a stat under this, and that is when it comes to whatever this is, there's a large degree of churches, over 40% are using blogs for social media.
Uh-huh.
Instagram, we mentioned earlier, is under 20%. So is, can't read this here, Pinterest. And then Google is under 10%.
Yeah,
Google,
we're right at 10%.
We're right at 10%. Google Plus.
Right.
So, which doesn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah, that piece doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I guess the point they wanted to say was 77% of people are using Twitter because that is a little surprising. I wouldn't have thought it would have been that high.
I think, that is kind of high.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so.
So we got the 46% discouraging the use of technology and 77% are using Twitter.
Yeah. And then our third surprising stat, at least 1/3 of all churches are using video clips during worship. Now that, I guess, surprises me a little bit.
That it's so low?
That I think, well, I don't know, let me rethink that. I'm surprised that many churches are using video clips during the worship service.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Over 1/3 are using PowerPoint or a similar presentation, some kind of software during worship. So, like my church uses Pro Presenter. What's your church use?
Media Shout.
Media Shout.
Yes. Took me a second to remember.
But video clips
during worship.
During worship service. Well, that would be
pretty. Yeah, video clips during worship. That surprises me. During the teaching, I can definitely see it.
But okay, let me back up here, though, Steve. I think they're defining worship service as the entire package.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
So it's the entire package.
Right.
It's not just the music.
Right.
It's the speaking.
Okay.
The quote preaching or teaching.
And this is according to the Clergy Journal.
The Clergy Journal. So video clips. So we do that. My church, we actually try to use an intro video clip so we do music, and then after the music is done, we have a little transition and we have a little clip that kind of runs presenting the topic. We do mostly topical stuff. So the topic that we're on, there's a little video clip.
Right.
That says
well, we've resorted to doing video announcements.
Oh, that's good.
So that's another. It's kind of a neat way.
I think video announcements are actually a good thing. Did we ever talk about that? I think we did when we talked about church announcements once.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea because you can not only use it on Sunday and you know how long it's going to last and you know what's in it, but you can also use it in other places. You can stick it on the web and
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and let's face it, most of the churches out there are doing it wrong. They're doing announcements wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them are doing announcements wrong.
Too much time and
too long and
too detailed.
Usually disorganized and But anyhow, all right. So 1/3 of the churches out there, all churches, are using video clips during their services to some degree. So
that's number 3.
Yeah. All right. Moving right along.
Number 4, 92% of churches agreed that Facebook was the most effective social media platform for member engagement and interaction.
I would agree with that, just from my own experience.
Right.
Facebook definitely has taken over a lot of things, and there's other people trying to get into the race. They're trying to get into the pie. Twitter was said to be only 22% effective. Again, the source for this is Roar.
This is for member engagement and interaction.
Yeah. So those using social media platform, they think 92% is Facebook. I have found that
this one's not too surprising to me.
Yeah, I would find if you're going to use social media, Facebook seems to really do really well there with that, and they're working on things all the time.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Moving right along.
Number 5, 74% of church members read the Bible electronically.
Now that surprises me.
74% are reading the Bible on their phone or tablet or computer.
So,
and then to go along with that, the other stat, 21% of churches discourage reading the Bible electronically.
Yeah, that kind of bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that would be so high. I've not heard any reason for not reading it electronically. What would be a reason for to discourage using the Bible electronically? I can think of just lots of reasons to read the Bible electronically. You take your Bible with you everywhere now.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know. It could go back to our very first stat, people discouraging the use of technology.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know. I have been involved in so many churches over the years, and I've had a lot of exposure to different groups. And even with what we do with our company, we have lots of different churches that work with us and stream with us and use our platforms. And there's a variety of different ideas out there.
Yeah, it is interesting. We're going through, we have life groups, small groups at our church, and it's interesting. We've had a kind of a change of our group kind of broke into 2 different groups and then brought in some new people and stuff. It's interesting. The last semester in the small group, I would say 90% of the people had the Bible electronically.
Wow.
And now we've got another group, and I would say 70% are bringing a paper Bible.
Yeah.
So it's swung the other way.
I don't think there's any right or wrong. That's where I'm at on these things. There's no right or wrong answer, in my opinion. If you're more comfortable reading your Bible, reading your grandmother's Bible, I have a Bible that goes back to, the 1930s.
Gutenberg, right?
And,
or you have a Gutenberg page out of one of the Bibles.
I have a page here out of one, yeah. But, it's all about what you're comfortable doing. And I guess there's times where I like to sit down with a cup of coffee, and open up a Bible and feel the pages.
I did I was thinking another reason why, or one reason why I could see them discouraging. And actually, my wife mentioned this too. Before the Bible was on our phone, is you had to. It was more important to remember the books of the Bible, so you could find things in your Bible.
Right.
When you have a paper Bible, and it's just so easy now on your phone or electronic device you don't have to memorize the books of the Bible in order.
Yeah, because we all know that if you can memorize the books of the Bible, you're more spiritual if you do that. I'm being facetious here.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but I think it's personal preference.
Maybe that'll be a lost art.
Yeah, it's just personal preference. I don't know. I just, like I said, there's times I'm in a mood to, put on a smoking jacket and light my pipe and read
and touch
Psalms
the pages
or something. I don't know. But
and a lot of other people may say, well, you can't underline and you can't. Well, you can on
actually you can.
Yes,
you can. But it depends on the app, I guess. I don't know.
It's not quite as easy as grabbing the pen and highlighting.
Interesting.
So,
that's interesting.
So that's number 5. 74% of church members read the Bible electronically.
Yeah.
We ready to move on?
Yeah, I was just looking at some other things on this page here that I printed. 99% of churches use sound equipment at their church. Okay. These are some extra stats here, I guess.
Yeah.
That we didn't talk about. 12%, almost 13% of churches discourage the use of stage lighting. Ooh, now that's interesting. Almost 13% discourage the use of stage lighting. Why would that be?
I don't know.
What else are we reading here? 74% of church members read the Bible electronically.
Yeah, we just talked about that one.
We already talked about that. I'm sorry. I've got a little graphic here that I'm looking at, so I probably...
Yeah, right. And this is all from Tyndale University.
Yes.
And these are, I assume, these are very recent data.
Yeah, they're pretty recent. Yeah, they're very recent. I can't remember where I found this. When we're talking about podcast subjects and stuff, I'm digging around. All right, let's move on. So 20%, here's a new one. 27% of churches don't make any, absolutely no use of the internet.
More than a quarter of churches make no use of the internet.
Huh.
Wow. And this includes 53% of Protestant churches that have no website, and 82% that don't have an email newsletter.
Wow.
So
these stats are all over the map.
Well, that's, I think 53% of the 27% is kind of what they must be talking about.
Right. Well, there's different. They quoted Protestant churches here.
Oh, Protestant churches. Yeah. That is just amazing. 20. Yeah.
Huh.
More than 1 in 4 don't make any use of the internet.
Well, yeah, okay. I was going to read something, but it kind of goes into our next source here, and that's the next point here. 58% of churches provide internet access to their staff. So I guess that means that if you're working as a staff person at the church facility,
they give you internet access.
They give you access. 58%, which means... What, 42% don't?
Yeah, you want on the internet, you got to bring your own.
You got to bring your own little
hotspot,
hotspot card or whatever. This is the Clergy Journal. Now, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day because
you can see where this stat may be a dated stat, but for today, if this is a current stat, then it makes it really surprising.
Yeah, I don't. I was talking to somebody about preparing messages because I speak at my church usually once a month, sometimes a little bit more. And, it used to be when I spoke at my church, anytime I would speak back in the 70s and even the 1980s and even the early 1990s, I would have just my kitchen table would be just stacked with references, concordances, commentaries, several different Bibles. And I would prepare. It would take. I would be preparing a message, and I had all these things stacked on my table. Papers, different notepads, and stuff. And now, when I prepare a message, I can find resources online, and I can do it in a fraction of the amount of time. Mm-hmm. And if I want to look up a Greek word, I don't have to pull out my Greek lexicon anymore. I can just go online,
right,
and find the Greek word and find how to pronounce it. How, what it means, everything. I mean, literally the internet for me, when I'm preparing a message,
is everything.
It just makes my life so much easier.
Right.
And if I want to look at commentaries, I could just go online. I look at them occasionally.
You can get your sermon from somewhere else on the internet.
Well, you can even do that. You can actually steal your sermon. Well, actually, there's places that you can purchase. You can purchase people's sermons.
Yes,
and you can take their outline and you can use your own thing. I don't know that's necessarily wrong, depending on what you're doing with it and stuff. But anyhow, so 58% of churches provide internet access. Okay. All right, let's move on.
So that was number 7. Number 8, 46% of churches say that limited staff time prevents them from providing more online content and services.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's not a big surprise to me at all. So what they're saying is almost half the churches out there say their limited staff time prevents them from providing more online. So in other words, we're always preaching here about, you should do this, and you folks, you should be on Facebook. And you and I are always talking about making content available. And
okay.
That's how I read it.
Yeah, that's right. Read it? Yeah, it took me a second to digest this one.
But you got to look these over before we go on. But I understand that because there's only so much time in the day, and you really have to schedule things, to make to make the time to put your stuff. So this is talking websites.
Yeah, this
probably
is providing online content and services.
Yeah,
so
websites.
So they, the top reason why they don't provide more was limited staff time. The next one was financial resources, which is 41%.
Yeah, they blame limited financial resources.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I guess, you can do a lot with social media without a lot of money.
Yeah. 39% cite limited volunteer time, and 35% claim a lack of interest or a demand.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that last one. Lack of interest or demand. So in other words, they're saying that nobody cares, so why do it?
I guess, yeah.
I don't think that's true. I think people, we've said this a lot. I've seen it in my own experiences. People, if they're going to check out your church, they're going to go online content.
Right.
They want to see, or even the people we have that are regular members. They check our newsletter. They check our website for updates on things, events. So all right. Well, okay.
All right. So number 9 on our list.
Number 9.
Only 13% of churches have a way for people to submit prayer requests online.
This is probably one of your pet peeves, right?
Yeah, and you would, since we offer those services and have for
20 years.
Not 20 years, but over a decade. So, but only 13% of churches have a way for people to submit their prayer requests online.
So we again, for my church, I know your church does this too. There, people can submit a prayer request, and we have people that, we don't have a bunch of people doing it, but we've got people that do it. I think it's a good thing. I think it should be available. It's not that hard to do today. There's different platforms you can use.
Mm-hmm.
You can even use your contact form. If you've got a website and you could even use it. You could use your contact form and say, hey, put your prayer request here online. We have a deal on the app, and also we have a prayer board with our company.
Yep, that's true. It's surprising that.
But I don't know, maybe people...
87% do not have any way to submit prayer requests online.
Yeah. See, I think that's a stat that people really need to look at.
We're really missing a great opportunity here.
Exactly, yeah, because everybody's online today. I know, all right, so moving right along.
That is number 9.
Number 9. And the number 10 would be 78% of churches are using a cloud-based church management system. I know this gets your dandruff riled up because myflock.com was probably the first cloud-based church management system.
Somebody out there that can let me know a system that was developed prior to the summer of 2001 that was a cloud-based management system. I'd really like to hear about them.
So myflock.com is part of our company. JSL Solutions has myflock.com and has StreamingChurch.tv and Church.
Yeah, it was interesting having to. Now everybody says it was the cloud, and not everybody knows what it's about, but they've at least heard of the cloud and heard other people talking about the cloud.
Well, we've got a couple minutes. Tell us what it is.
Well, my point I was going to make was it was really challenging back in 2001, saying this is in so many words, this is a cloud-based management system. And what is a cloud? What does that mean? Well, it basically means that it's kind of like you can get to it from anywhere you can get on the internet. It's probably the primary feature of it. So it's a centralized system that's accessible from anywhere. So it's running off on a cloud server on a server somewhere up in cyberspace that's managing all your data. That's kind of what it's all about. It's just
in the heavens.
Yeah, all your data is not stored locally on your local computer or in a filing cabinet up at church. It is available anywhere you can get to a web browser. So, and it's got all the same features. So that cloud-based church management basically just means where it's hosted and how you can get to it. So before it's interesting that I'm good friends with a dentist, and before there was cloud-based management systems, he would either have to go into his dental office and fire up his computer, or the thing that was really popular that he thought was really cool was being able to remote in over the phone lines and tie into the computer that was up in his dental office. So now that data is available on the internet with proper access.
Well, my church, when I came over, we started using MyFlock cloud-based, and they were just using QuickBooks, I think, and they weren't even using the cloud version of QuickBooks.
Yeah. QuickBooks has gone through that migration as well, initially when we started using them, but now I think primarily all the new financial offerings you hear about on the radio or TV are all cloud-based.
Yeah. We actually still use QuickBooks for something. We print 4 or 5 pages every month of reports, but we use MyFlock to record everything and do all that stuff. Anyhow,
so it's interesting. I mean, I was at a conference way back near the beginning, and it was interesting that, well, there was a couple of things. We had a booth, and one of the old established church management system people came over. Number one, what struck me was how rude they were to me, which I was like, oh, these are, and
my fellow Christians, they should be nice to me.
Yes, they're a Christian company. They should be nice to me. And then the other thing is they're like, oh, you guys, I see you guys, you fly-by-nights that come through here all the time. You got these newfangled things going on. And because we had a cloud-based management system. And ironically, they were mocking initially, and now, yes, they too offer a cloud-based management system. Took them about 6 or 8 years to kind of recognize that that's where things are going.
Well, you've always been on the cutting edge, and
it's to my detriment usually.
Well, that's I can't remember how somebody said it one time, but when you're on the cutting edge, you're out there on a limb.
Yeah,
and we did that even in Christian radio. When I started Christian radio, we were on the cutting edge in a lot of our programming, and now it's mainstream. But back when we were doing it, we were fighting for listeners, so to speak, because we were cutting edge, and people were like, oh, what kind of music is that? Anyhow, all right, we're out of time. So
anyway, 78% are using cloud-based management systems. I guess that's not too surprising given today.
No, that should be, it means 20% or more aren't, but all right, so we're out of time. We'd love to hear your feedback on this stuff, these stats. We threw out a lot of stats, but it'd be awesome to hear what you think about some of those. And if you agree or disagree on some of those, send us an email, support@StreamingChurch.tv. Check us out on iTunes. Look for Church Solutions Podcast. Check us out on YouTube. The audio portion is on there if you just look for StreamingChurch.tv. And we're also on NewMediaMinistries.tv. And we're all over the place. I don't know. So anyhow, we're out of time, Steve.
All right. So till next week.
Till next week. Thanks for listening, folks. You guys have yourself a great day. He's Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. We will catch you next time on another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.